Welcome to the Sports Arena, your front row ticket to the best in sports talk and entertainment. Great analysis, top-name guests, and news you can use from the sports landscape. So, take your seats, sit back, and relax, as you are now in the Sports Arena.
You know what you're capable of. Fix it.
And here's your host, Eric Wilson.
Wins. I'm like, all right, let's go. We get losses. I'm like, I need a minute. Collect myself.
What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson. Hey, Sports Arena is in the building. So much to talk about. We could not wait till Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, shameless plug, to do it. So, there is so much going on. It is just it's a huge weekend. Like, think about it for a minute. We got the men and women's Final Four, okay? We got UFC 300. We got WrestleMania weekend. I mean, it's crazy just to think in one weekend how 72 hours we can pack, 48 hours, whatever it is, we can pack just so much excitement and entertainment. Yo, I'm telling you right now, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Mick Delivery, they all finna get paid this weekend because no one's leaving home. Everybody's gonna be at a bar or somewhere watching these games. But let me get the team in here, man. Of course, when I talk anything basketball, men's, women's, it doesn't matter. I got to bring the Queen of Hoop in the building. Miss Megan Price is in the building. Good morning, Megan. Fresh off at 8:06.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Actually, I don't do 8:06 on Friday mornings.
Which is why she blesses us with her presence here on the Sports
Yes,
Arena. That's
yes.
exactly why.
Yes, absolutely. It's going really well. So it's
Good.
it's opening weekend for the baseball team, the Amarillo Sod Poodles. So super excited to be a part of that. That's what I got going on.
And already she got fans in the building. Look at this. People just here for Megan. That's fine. As long as you here, we don't care why you here. We just glad that you're here. You know what I mean? And then, of course, my man, he got up early with us today. The left coast, the west coast. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry. Forks up. Mike Carrots and Noodles in the building. What's up, baby?
It's not early. I mean, it's 9 o'clock, but sometimes when you fall asleep later and later, 9 o'clock comes fast. And see, I tease you guys at night, like, oh, you don't gotta go. It's only 8 o'clock, But in the morning, I get good morning messages from you guys, and it's like Megan's at 8:05 at 6 a.m. and I get an update. And I'm like, oh, hello. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yeah, this is a party. We can do 24 hours of sports with me, you, and Megan. We could it'd be 24 hours of Le Mans, Eric. It'd just be the 24 hours of Sports Arena.
Hey, Mike, I got to ask you a question, though. Is it cold in Arizona? Why are you wearing a Cowboys sweatshirt?
Oh, no, I mean, I just...
First off, can you take that off, please? Because we ain't talking about the Cowboys.
he turned the camera down to it.
We're talking football. I mean, it's okay. No,
hey, Mike,
I thought about it, but I went with the reigning defending champs, World Series.
We ain't talking baseball either. What is wrong with you two today? This is basketball.
Well, we're talking football, and this actually
my team got knocked out last weekend, and I'm sad. And I'm not boycotting it, but I'm sad.
Yeah, look, we're not talking about that team in Texas that you two support.
This will go to one of my points today, so I just kind of wanted to subliminally advertise.
Well, let's talk about it. All right, there it is, man. Mike and I always ask the question, who got digs? Well, the answer, the Houston Texans. So, hey, when I saw this come down, the first person I thought of was my man, 18 years, Mike Carrots, because I was like, Mike, really? He was that close to coming to Dallas? What happened, bro, Megan? What happened?
Well, what happened is the Texans are, what it reminds me of, E? Remember when, about 2 years after, all of our, especially Megan's and mine, well, yours too, because you're in the division, all of our best friends, Dan Snyder, tried to sign that super team, had, Dion, Bruce Smith was already there, but brought in Dion, brought in Bruce Smith, defensively, offensively. Basically, and again, it's not basketball, it's football. So yes, you might have some speed bumps, but gelling's going to be a little bit quicker just because obviously the nature of the sport. So it reminded me of that, but to a much smoother and smarter degree. They traded for Joe Mixon, right? We all talk running game, right? So they traded for that. So I was kind of going to pick on them saying, oh, they're trying to be Washington. But when you actually dive in and look at it, it's like, okay, You had a quarterback that had young receivers, a veteran tight end that came from, this other awesome team in Texas. But all kidding aside, like, they're adding pieces. And CJ Stroud, you talk about a sophomore slump. I'll say this real quick. Even if he enters a sophomore slump, it's going to be really tough to notice because of what they've surrounded him with. The offensive line.
Right, yeah.
What's the one thing we outside of ownership, when we talk Texans the past few years when we picked records before, even with last year because we felt bad for CJ Stroud. But when Deshaun Watson was there, what's the one thing I always killed him for, Eric? Their offensive line. I mean, Deshaun Watson was getting killed,
right?
And yet he was still leading the league. So, look, you bring in a coach like D'Amico Ryans. The defense was solid, but this deal in and of itself.
They've had a defense. Right,
exactly.
Yeah, we've never been concerned about Houston's defense.
Right.
We say the same thing about the Jets. We have never been concerned about their defense.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But this deal here in and of itself, Stephon Diggs, I mean, they're smart. They're not going to get – I mean, look, everybody thinks like – and rightfully so, like he wanted those last 3 years voided so he could be a free agent last year. Everyone's like, oh, he doesn't want to stay in Houston. If anything, in this day and age, he's getting $22.25 million. I know we've all seen the numbers because the $3 million goes into guaranteed this year. And, they said, what, $22.25 million. But look, to me, depending on obviously how the team does, I mean, again, winning a Super Bowl, I know their odds keep getting lower because of what they're doing, but they just put themselves as a front runner to sign him in free agency. He balls out, he's getting another big contract. And as you and I know, like if he balls out, he gets that contract. But the thing is, if for some reason he doesn't want to stay in Houston and he's a free agent, Megan, we have to wait another year. But he go play with baby brother. He go play with baby brother, make Eric really happy.
I would love that. But I just don't get, and this is more off of how I feel about Dallas compared to how I feel about Houston right now. It has the distinct vibe, and trust, I know how this feels because I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. It feels like we're tanking. It feels like we're setting up for the tank. And I might just be paranoid because of what the Spurs put me through. We got 18 wins and I want to cry most times that I turn the NBA on. But it's 18 wins.
Nobody in Phoenix cries for that. They smile when they see that. I'm just saying. But I know you guys have won. But
it feels like we're tanking. It definitely feels like we're setting it up for the tank. Like Jerry it feels like he's gonna blow it up next year. So I don't know if that's why we didn't go after Diggs. It feels like I would love to have them on the same team. I think that would be fabulous. I think they would be great together. They would feed off of each other. I know they're on opposite sides of the ball, but on the sidelines together like that, oh man, they would ball out. I feel like.
No, absolutely.
But it just does not feel that way. And then now looking at the Houston Texans offense, you got Stroud, Mixon, Diggs, Collins, Dell, and then Schultz. That is tough right there. And like we said, their defense, we were never questioning their defense. 2 seasons ago when they played Dallas, they played them tough. We didn't win that game until like the last 2 minutes of the game. And it was a tough game for us. Their defense definitely got in our mix.
They went to overtime against Kansas City the next week. You remember? Because Eric's the only one that almost won.
We had some validity for how we performed then because they got in the Chiefs mix too. So
the Chiefs game. Oh, I know about Dallas. Eric took him. No, but I'm saying the Chiefs game. Eric took him. I think you took him the next week, and you were the only one. Like when it went to overtime, I'm like, Eric's gonna be the only one to beat all of us in this game.
Hey, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Look here, check this out real quick. I'm not for real. Check this out, though. I'm looking at right now the regular season opponents for the Texans this upcoming season, okay? First off, here's my pitch, and I very rarely make a pitch for the team that I can't stand, but I'm going to make this pitch. NFL, I think on Thanksgiving, it should be the Houston Texans traveling to Dallas to play the Cowboys, brother versus brother on Thanksgiving. Okay.
I don't hate that.
That is one of the games that is slated for that the Texans are going to travel for. All right.
Well, they haven't released the dates of the game.
They haven't released the dates yet, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Y'all know me. Maybe I'm turning over a new leaf in 2024. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, because of my love for Megan and for Mike and for the 7 other people who are Cowboy fans. Maybe my hard Philly edge is kind of loosening a little
No,
bit.
you can't fool us. You're biased. You want to see us get railroaded on Thanksgiving.
I do.
That's
By
what
Houston?
it is.
Yes, sir. I want to see Stephon go off on his little brother on Thanksgiving. Yes. Megan, you know me too well. We can't keep doing this, but for real though.
Mr. Eric's negativity. I hope the 3rd game on Thanksgiving night is the Texans and the Eagles, and Stephon Diggs.
We don't play the Eagles. I mean, they don't play the Eagles this year. We don't play the Eagles this year.
How do they not play the Eagles if the Cowboys? Oh, that's the extra game.
Yes.
Yes. That's the extra game cross conference.
Whatever.
Man.
Look, and this man right here, you need to stop, okay? There's an all-point bulletin out for you for the last month. You need to
keep
stop
it coming, Ray. I see you dancing in your office. That's why you're getting that money, Ray. I saw that dancing.
You know we're talking about your boy Bronny James and his daddy, so you might as well just jump on the show, Mr. Sports Reporter Without Pay, because see, I knew he'd be coming in the woodwork, though. I knew he'd be coming out the woodwork. Ray Lynn, where you at? Okay, pull up, as the big guard said. We got to hear you talk, all right? We listen, all right? Anyhow, let's keep it moving. But my question real quick, with Stephon now being with the Texans, are they odds-on favorite to win the division, the AFC South? Yes or no?
I don't know.
Say yes.
They should. I want to say yes, but they're a part. Jacksonville, right, is in there?
Jacksonville's in there. Indy's in there. Tennessee's in there. Houston rounds out the AFC South.
I think it's theirs to lose, but Jacksonville is there too. We'll see how they had a little struggles last year, but we'll see. I'm not ready to count them out, but Houston, should win it. But I think Jacksonville is right there.
I echo what Megan says because I trust your and all kidding aside, but I trust your boy Dougie P, Eric. And look, they got banged up. Look, free agent wise, I mean, look, if you go on paper, who won the offseason free agency, obviously, and yes, Diggs puts the cherry on top, but everything I mentioned before, even re-signing obviously Dalton Schultz. You bring in a Joe Mixon who is still young, a running back. I know Ray's favorite position can obviously still play. I mean, we talk about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati and what they did. Joe Burrow healthy, yeah. I mean, those receivers are looking good because offensive line may have struggled, but Mixon helped that cause a lot. And we saw, look, I know, you can relate it to Kirk Cousins getting injured too. Like that offensive line or that running game with Kirk. I mean, and again, Dalvin Cook, I'm not saying Cousins injury wouldn't have happened. You know what I'm saying, guys? But that running game, as much as, people we disagree on running backs, makes a huge difference. And that's just gonna, bolster CJ Stroud even more. So yeah, I want to say yes, but man, for Jacksonville to have a last 5 weeks of a season again under Dougie P the same way. I mean, yeah, depending on health, right, guys? But Eric, I don't see that. I think it'll be one hell of a. Hey, at least it'll finally be an interesting division race.
Right, I agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah. I want to see when the schedule drops because that always dictates how we feel about this team.
When they play them.
Yeah, when they play, how they play each other. See, my phone already blowing up today, man. It is Friday. Everybody jumping on. Just want to know, what y'all doing? Anyhow, so apparently someone said I should have my background on, so I'll take my background off. I don't care. I don't need it on there. I was just trying to promote. You can see the shirt. By the way, you can buy these, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Just letting y'all know.
Put it back on.
No, it's all love.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It's cool. I look. We all look the same now. We all flossing. Anyhow, let's move on to news that just came down roughly about half an hour ago. And that is Bronny James has made himself declare.
I knew that's where he was going with it. I'm sorry. Raylan was saying we should have ours on. We don't have it. He hasn't sent it to us, but thank you.
Oh, yeah. Them Cowboy fans. Nah, it was brand
new. I could put my cowboy background on. From the NFL
no, please don't, because I will put the Philly background on.
Listen to me. Hey, Megan, we should get Jimmy Johnson and Luke just saying, "How about them Cowboys, Eric? How about them Cowboys? How about Eric?"
No, Mike, don't make me do it because I got it on standby, right? I will play the song.
No, okay, all right.
Mike, I'll do it. I click of a button.
Hey, I haven't had my orange juice yet here on the left coast. Like, don't do that to me, man.
All right, so Bronny James declaring for the NBA draft, checking out his options after 1 year at USC. So how do we feel about this? Because I've heard both sides now from the media pundits at ESPN saying on some regards, this should not be a good idea. This is not a good idea for him. Others are saying this man wasn't made for college. He was made for the NBA. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious to hear how y'all feel about it.
I mean, I'll say this. I do think that in basketball and probably any sport, I think baseball gets it right. You should either be able to go pro directly after high school or you play 4 years of eligibility in college. It's one or the other. And I think that's getting it right. Like, I think it's on you if you feel like you're ready to go. I remember watching Zion in the McDonald's game, and I was just like, this dude doesn't need to be in college, you know? And clearly we see what he's been in the NBA, but at that point in time, he didn't need to be in college. He didn't need that 1 year at Duke. Bronny, however, I don't think had shown that in high school that he was ready to come directly out of high school. I disagree with that. I don't think he's ready for the NBA today. And I don't know if it's the mama in me, but I would have hoped that health-wise that he would have just taken his time with his development and see what next year brings him. And I don't because clearly his freshman season didn't end up being what anybody had hoped it would be. And I think you have to play it safe with everything that he went through. And so it's not a knock. I'm definitely not the one that criticizes him because everything he went through was incredibly serious. So whatever pace he chooses to take in his rehab and getting right, I felt like it was the right decision, but not to go to declare for the draft. I don't agree with that. Now, however, he still has some eligibility. So he's in the portal as well. I think he should stay in college another year. I can't see teams being super interested in what they've seen out of him in his freshman season.
Let me push back before I go to you, Mike. And again, I'm glad the Sports Reporter Without Pay is in the comments because he was the one when on the show, he was the one saying the first time we caught wind of this, the Sports Reporter Without Pay, the one and only, the incomparable Ray Lynn said, LeBron James just served notice to all the NBA teams. If you get my son, you also get me.
Yeah,
and now essentially we are here. It has been brought to fruition. If Bronny James decides that he will go into the NBA draft after exploring all of his options, whichever team picks him up gets a shot to bring arguably one of the greatest players in the NBA onto their squad. And somehow has surpassed the whole legal tampering thing. So,
right, yeah,
I mean,
he did say it publicly.
He did.
Right.
He said it more than once.
And if you look at where he would be in the draft, though, like his draft stock is not very high. It cannot possibly be that high. Of course, you're going to have some interest because of who his dad is, and because he's already said, "Hey, we're a package duo because I want to be the first father-son duo," and that's cool. I'm not hating on it at all. Like, do it. It doesn't bother me. But you have to consider like where he's going to go at that point, because Bronny's not going to get drafted up by one of these really bad teams that are at the top of the draft. He's going to go at the last part of the first draft or second draft, second round. Why not?
If you know, let's take one of these lower tier teams.
You're saying that you should sacrifice that pick because you know you get Bron with it?
Yes. Yeah, Megan, look at these
1
teams
year,
that have
like 1, 2, just a couple of years of Bron. That's all you get.
You're still getting okay. Would you rather have 60% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape?
I'll say this, as a team that's already in 100% of a rebuild, right? I feel like we're already at the lowest point. We found our future. We drafted our future, but we're still going to have an incredibly high draft pick. We're probably still going to be in the lottery, right?
All right.
I don't know if I want to use that pick for LeBron for a season or two. I don't know. We're already at the worst point.
If it brings you a championship, if it brings you a ring,
I don't know that. I don't know that brings you a championship.
Okay. All right.
I don't think that's a if that was the case, then the Lakers would be the number 1 seed right now instead of barely making the play-in. If that was the case, is what he doing an anomaly? Is he amazing? If nobody's ever done what he's doing, absolutely. But is that getting him into the playoffs this year? He's barely a play-in seed.
Okay. All right, Mike, go ahead, man, because I got a lot to say, but I'm gonna let you go, Mike.
All I'm saying is that I was gonna tease Megan saying the one team that wouldn't do that. That's another little poke from Phoenix to San Antonio. That's that'll appear in the lottery is the Spurs. Greg Popovich ain't drafting Bronny James. And look,
right,
being the one person here that's got to see him play live, like,
okay, Mike.
I mean, because before that team that he plays for, the Crybabies, decided to start ruining my conference, and we're going to go to the Big Ten. Well, good riddance. But anyway, I'm not bitter, Eric. We'll go on.
No, you're not at all, Mike. You ain't bitter at all.
No. It's coming up on 10 months of the news, and I'm still the wound's open, the salt's there. But look, the thing with USC this year, and it's tough to judge Bronny, because I will say this. I mean, yeah, in high school when you look at that level, people, and I'm with you, Megan. Some were like, he could come out. Yes, he was playing, academy wise. Yes, they're playing tougher competition. He looked good. I will say, like, in passing the ball, because he averaged what, like 4.8 points per game this year.
5 points a game, Mike. 5 points.
All right, 5 points a game. But
it's because he was
USC. When you look at USC, I mean, look, they're two returning best players were out for like 2/3 of the season. Isaiah Collier and Boogie Ellis, like that affected them, because I mean they were in some games. I mean they had a losing streak, and when they came to Tempe and we beat them. I mean, and I think I told you on the show, Eric. Everybody was like brewing Bronny James. I'm like, why they like? It makes no sense. All you're doing is fueling them. But go ahead, kids. Go ahead, students. Keep booing Bronny James. Look, I think the passing is there, to Megan's point. Like, are you gonna take a number 1 pick? Oh, and take Bronny James, thinking that you can sign LeBron? And Eric, he's making a blanket statement. It's really not tampering. The team didn't make a statement. The players can say what the hell they want. It's really not tampering. It's just a PSA. So if you think about it, and I get what believe me, Eric, you and I are on the same page. I roll my eyes when I see that too. But I'm just saying, like, the season he had, look, there were times, I mean, even against that team down south, who, of course, ruined my bracket once again. He looked good against them, against Oregon, who obviously charged in like the second half. Like there were times he looked good, but when two players who you're counting on to obviously screw up defenses, especially in Boogie Ellis when he's out. I mean, Collier had a solid season too. When they're missing those guys, like, yes, did it affect his game? Is he that? Can he be that scorer? I mean, sure, if you're going to run an offense through him, I think maybe. But to Megan's point, like, you're not going to – to me, it's tough. Like, I'm with you because, Eric, like, yes, what LeBron James is doing, I mean, if you get, LeBron James for 65 games, again, because if you want, competition for awards, you can't miss more than 17 games. But if you're going to get LeBron, I mean, yeah, could it definitely help a team? To Megan's point, if it does go that way, if a team a little further down drafts him and they figure, okay, well, we take Bronny, Bron comes in. All right, maybe some guys will come over, whatever cap room they have. It's one of those things. But when Megan said, like, look, Megan, it's never going back to, at least 3 years to get either you go after high school or instead of baseball, because I've said this before, and I've said this to Eric, instead, because baseball, like if you get drafted in baseball out of high school, you can go. But if you already, and even if you sign with a Division I team, if you say, you know what, I'm going to go to college, baseball's made it, you have to stay for 3 years. Now, the loophole baseball created, which again, some of these kids, and even the kid from U of A did it a few years ago. He went and played in Europe for 1 year. Like, so you could go play in Europe. That's the thing. But baseball made it 3 years. So just either say, okay, you can go in high school, but if you come to college, which would benefit the college game,
then you're there to play for at least 3 seasons.
2 years.
Yeah.
No, 2 years.
Okay.
Oh, for you for 2.
let me ask this question. Let me play devil's advocate because y'all know I love doing this. So I'm gonna go with Megan said. Megan said none of the top teams that would be eligible for a draft pick are going to draft Bronny James. Okay, that's fine, Megan.
Well, I disagree.
Because of his stock, you feel he's not going to be, let's just take in the first round. Let's just say that for argument's sake, okay?
Oh.
Okay.
Let me ask y'all this question. Could this potentially be the perfect storm to where the Los Angeles Lakers just wind up getting Bronny James based on where they're at this year with regards to the play-in tournament and everything? Could this be the perfect storm to where LeBron ain't got to go nowhere and his son gets to come play for the team that he's already on?
Because I really don't see Bronny, whether he stays in college or goes to the draft, I don't see him leaving California. I don't see it. So he may not go back to USC, but I really think he does. He ends up going back.
Okay. But you still didn't answer my question. Yes or no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It could absolutely. Look at who his agent is. We all know who his agent is. So, I mean, I think they're testing the waters. I think it's a team that's the middle of the pack that's going to take Bronny, and that works out perfect for the Lakers. Yes.
Well, I mean, Eric, that's where I think.
Come on, Mike.
Logically, it makes sense, but I'm with what you said. What you said, asking the question, and I stand by. Outside of San Antonio, who doesn't want to win 20 games this year.
Bottom of the barrel. It's okay.
Outside of San Antonio, Pop signed that extension. Like, look, you have to play on the court, and it'd be a circus in this day and age anyway. But outside of San Antonio, I 100,000% would not be surprised if a team in the top 10 took him.
Okay, so Mike, let me give you the Western Conference teams right now that, as the standings are today, are not in the play-in or the playoffs. Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz, Memphis Grizzlies, Portland Trailblazers, and of course, we're saying that Pop and the Spurs are not going to do anything. So I'm fine with that. Of those four teams, you don't think those four teams wouldn't take LeBron in the top 10? I mean, Bronny in the top 10, no nigga LeBron?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, they might. I guess my point of view is because I'm a Spurs fan. We're already at the bottom of a rebuild. Like, we build things a certain way in San Antonio, and I just can't see us wasting that pick on Bronny.
Okay.
Yeah, Houston to me is the wild card. They've developed so much, and to Megan's point, like, is Bronny that guy? Is he, and like I said, if we're just comparing his teammates, is he a Boogie Ellis type? No. Is he an Isaiah Collier type? I mean, look, passing wise, I definitely think like the way he dishes the ball, people want to play with him. To me, Eric, of the teams you asked, I mean, I say no on San Antonio. Houston to me would be the wild card because, I mean, Ime Udoka, like what he's done, I don't know if I think it would fit Bronny's game. I think it would be good for him to be there in Houston, but I don't know, if Houston would want Bron. I mean, look, he said it, but a team doesn't have to go sign him. They could be like, yeah, we're drafting him. We're not signing like. Well, I think
you got to look at cap room too, because you really think Bron is going to take yes, of course he'll probably take less to be where his son is, but he's not going to take he's not going to take a.
He don't need it, Megan. Stop it.
Yeah, Megan.
Do you think he's going to take that little bit of money? I don't see it.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think the opportunity to be the first ever to do it.
Everything the man does is about money.
Okay, but Megan, what's more important than money? Family. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think he'll take a pay cut, but he's not going to go somewhere. You just have to look at cap too. It's going to be an issue as well.
I mean, think about this is what I and you two of all people, I am very surprised that y'all have not take your blinders off, take your Spurs blinders off for a minute, okay, and roll with me on this for a second, all right? And Megan, I'll use you and Bunny as an example, if I may, okay? If you win the W and you are a highly touted athlete in the WNBA, and all of a sudden, here come Bunny, and she putting up, let's just say, average numbers. She got a great point game. She got plenty of assists, whatever the case may be. And after 3 years of being at a prestigious college, she makes a decision that she wants to go to the W. And you've already said on record, wherever my daughter goes, you get me too. Now, there's only 12 teams in the W as of right now. There will be more. You mean to tell me that if, and I'll just throw a team out there, you mean to tell me that if the Washington Mystics of the world, or even the Seattle Storms of the world.
Let's not talk Washington Mystics because they're on my hit list.
Yeah, that's why I said it. That's why I said it. You know, that's why I said it. So let's just take Seattle. If the Seattle Storm of the world was poised to take money, you mean to tell me you would not take a pay cut to be the first mother-daughter duo in the WNBA to play with each other?
Yes, I would.
Okay,
yes,
so then why is that different? Why is it any different for Bron then?
Okay, so maybe it's not different. All right, you swayed me. Maybe it's not different. But I like what Raylan's point over here in the comments where he said that this kid wasn't a top 100 player in college this year. He has no business declaring. These are some facts. And yes, I realize LeBron carries that weight. His name carries that weight because it's a package deal. He's already said that. But there are teams that are in a different process of building. It's the same way in baseball when an organization, okay, he's not here, but for example, John's Orioles, right? They built their farm system the right way and they're solid. They're here to stay for a while. Bron is a Band-Aid for a team that's trying to build from the very bottom like that, where he needs to go to a middle of the pack team where his impact is that much of a difference, then maybe they'll be in contention. But going to a team like San Antonio but Houston is a different situation there. I think that is a wild card. I kind of like that situation over there for them because I think they're a piece away from being good, whereas San Antonio is a few pieces away from being good.
Yeah, but
Bronny's not that piece that's going to be the difference maker, and you got him for a while.
But you're also getting LeBron, and LeBron as well.
It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything for those bottom of the barrel teams. It's not going to make you. It's going to put you in the middle of the pack. You're not winning a championship. You're not winning a championship like that because if that was the case, then the Lakers would be in contention right now, and we all know they're not.
In a 1-game series, the Lakers are in contention. In a 7-game series, not happening. Look, here's the thing: LeBron's to answer.
Well, the entire playoffs is 7-game series, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. LeBron's not playing for the veteran minimum. We're not saying that, but yes, he would take less.
Development at the collegiate level.
He'd structure to play to the contract to play for less money. I agree with you there, Eric. Obviously, like you said, it's not going to be the veteran minimum. Yes, could he play for the 2.85 veteran minimum? Sure, because does he really need it? But yeah, LeBron, no, that's not going to happen with LeBron.
He has an ego.
But here's the thing with the standings too, Eric. You said the Western Conference. If you look at the least wins, I mean, you got Detroit, Washington, and then Detroit at 13, Washington at 15, Charlotte and San Antonio both at 18. And then Portland's got 20. Toronto's got 23. Of those 6 teams, again, is it going to stunt growth? Because with Houston, like I said, it's a young team. Now, if they brought Bronny in, do I think, he could come off the bench and be that guy? Because look, his passing, I see what Cortland and Ray are saying, but not a top 100 player. But in his recruiting, when he signed with USC, how they're ranking recruits, recruit-wise, he was. Now, you're saying not a top 100 in college basketball. I might push back there as much as I watch because, look, yes, there are some dudes that are 6 years, that are 6-7 years because of COVID. Like I told you after the show Monday night, next year is we won't see any more 6-7 year people in college. If his dad wasn't LeBron, exactly. I mean, if somebody's, but LeBron started this when he was in high school. You guys remember those, and they were talking about it all over, saying LeBron was at home watching an NBA game, and he's like, man, my son Bronny could clean up on half these dudes. Are they even putting it? Remember he sent out some tweet like that, and he wasn't even in college. Look, and again, playing next to Collier and Ellis, I think maybe would have made his game shine more. Again, not the crazy scorer, but as that dish guy. So look, Detroit, to Megan's point, you're not winning a championship, but to sell tickets on the other side, Eric, say Detroit gets them. You know, say Washington gets him. Does Bron really want to go to Washington or Detroit? Like,
to play with his son. Yes, that's what the caveat
but
that
here's
y'all
the thing.
keep missing.
Here's the thing. You
to
also
play with his son. He's already said whichever team gets him.
The difference maker is he has an ego.
But the difference maker
we all know Bron has an ego.
Do they want to sign him?
He's not going to go just anywhere.
He can say that all he wants. It doesn't mean the team wants to sign. Because look, Houston is a perfect example. And I mean, as much as I'm poking at Megan, but in all seriousness, Popovich, not if San Antonio did draft, say San Antonio's that pick. No, but say San Antonio has a number 4 pick and they take Bronny, right? I don't think Popovich is signed. Just because he says it doesn't mean they're signing him. Yes, he put it out there in the universe, but like if Houston, because look, Houston's not going to be. I mean, they're in playoffs. They might. I mean, they couldn't be. I think they'd be outside the top 5. I mean, they'd be like 8, 9, 10 because again, they're 5 games out. Again, I know we're down the stretch, but of the plan. Houston's got that team and they're building. Like, do you want to bring somebody in? And look, LeBron is opposite. As much as you know, Eric, I always love Carmelo's game. Carmelo, and look, a lot of people said it, but if you watch it, he was a damn ball stopper. Like, if it could be rotating, if it got to him, it's like, okay, I'm going to score. Now, Carmelo scored an awful lot. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him. But, like, do certain teams, just because he said it, if they're going to sign him, I don't think a young team like Detroit would. And to use the San Antonio example, if they were like at 5 or 6 for some reason, could I see them taking him? Because Popovich could, I think, use parts of his game. Because especially to Megan's point, when you have somebody like Wemby, right, and you have these younger guys who in spurts seemingly wish they could have played the Suns 82 times because they might have 55 victories, which is frustrating. But that aside, like, could Pop develop him? I just don't think every team that drafted him would sign him. Do I think of Washington would? Yeah. Detroit, maybe. Charlotte, you know, I mean, look, Michael Jordan took his interest out.
Charlotte, of course, would.
I think Michael Jordan would go crazy if they did that, even though he sold, you know, he sold his interest in
majority.
For Bronny James, look, I mean, watching him play, like I said, live, but even seeing him throughout the season, like, you see parts of his game that if you're around certain guys, I think can definitely improve a team. But no, he's not that scorer. And if this year proved anything, and yeah, I mean, you know, I think he missed and obviously the health, like, coming back was awesome.
Can I ask a question real quick though, before we close this out? Because I do want to get to Angel Reese and I want to get to the women's Final Four, and I want to get to Megan's what she brought to the dance today. You know, we're already putting an expectation on Bronny James with regards to points. Okay. You realize that basketball, I get it. And I know the sports reporter without pay is going to chime in when I say this. I understand it's about the winning, but isn't it also about the team dynamic? Not everybody can score every night. Not everybody can be the lead and assist every night. But if you are a complementary piece to a team that maybe is on the cusp of getting into the postseason, and we'll use Houston for this example, would that not be worth an opportunity to not only have an up-and-coming young man who can get developed, but also bring in one of the greatest for a couple of years and might make y'all relevant? Like, I just don't like.
That's a different situation. I'm just saying,
how is it different though?
Because Houston is on the cusp. Because Houston is on the cusp of making the playoffs on their own. Teams
so
like
how
San Antonio,
is Bronny
Detroit
and
are
LeBron
not.
James not the missing ingredients?
Well, right, but
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that it can work in Houston. That is a different situation than, say, Detroit or Charlotte or San Antonio. Those are different.
Why wouldn't it work in Charlotte? Why wouldn't it work in Charlotte?
Why wouldn't it work in Charlotte? Because they're terrible. They're not one piece away from being good. That's what I was saying before.
You're getting 2 pieces though.
I mean,
you getting the win and a
I'm not counting somebody that doesn't average 5 points a game. I'm not counting somebody that doesn't average at least 5 points a game. I mean, what?
But that's one aspect of his game is the points. What about the assist? What about the rebound?
So their coach in Charlotte's really going to be able to develop Bronny? With
LeBron there with him?
Who is their coach in Charlotte? Because Clifford went to the front office. So who is their coach there in Charlotte? Do we even know? That's going to be the person to develop somebody who's averaging less than 5 points a game. That's who we're going to trust with that.
What about Chicago? What about the Bulls?
Oh, don't get me started on Billy Donovan.
What about the Bulls?
But
No,
Eric,
Billy
look,
Donovan, why do the people keep playing him?
here's the
Paying him?
thing.
Why do
Charlotte
people keep
doesn't
paying
work.
him,
I know LaMelo Ball's out for the season, but LaMelo Ball's your point guard. And like, look, when he's on the court,
So
and we
Bronny
saw
can't
him
be a
go-
shooting guard. He can't be number 2.
No, because he
averaging less than 5 points a game?
He's a
Shooting guard?
Okay,
Get the ball through the hoop?
he can get the ball through the hoop. I'm just saying this year, like, look, USC also took a lot of lumps from teams, and like those two guys out screwed their rotation. And yeah, Bronny came back and got work back in. And look, the health part you love to see. But here's the thing with Houston, to answer your question real quick, I'll leave on this, Eric, is that's why I brought up Houston. Like, it's a young team, the dynamic, they've grown. And I'm not saying LeBron would so much as stop that, but also look at it this way. Like, if LeBron's bringing the ball up the court a lot, which again, he could always say, oh, he doesn't need to, but LeBron will bring the ball up the court. But like, is he just going to, and again, I know he's going to be a team play. He gets the concept in a way, but sometimes might he look for Bronny to that point? Oh, he can get that winning shot. He's right there. Like, I just don't think that every team, even though he puts it out there, and maybe they don't want the headache. Like, yeah, you see, like,
oh, I love how LeBron's a headache now, just because you got a personal bias against him.
No. The headache of it being a media circus, because maybe they don't.
Who doesn't want the media attention?
Right.
Who doesn't want it?
Dalton Schultz, and y'all praised Dalton Schultz for saying that about the Cowboys, didn't y'all? Some people don't want the media circus, right? And y'all praised.
Don't say y'all. I just said it's no shock Jerry did it. I didn't praise Dalton Schultz.
I just remember something he said the last time I was on the show.
No, I did. I listen. I'll take full accountability. Yes, I said it based on what he said. Dalton Schultz may not want it, but Megan, you just simply here and said LeBron James has an ego, so he gonna want the media.
He does have an ego. He does have an ego. You can tell me LeBron James don't have an ego.
I'm not saying he does or doesn't. I'm going off what you say. What, Mike?
I still stick by. It doesn't mean if a team does draft him, and again, he might just because like he puts his name in the draft. He doesn't have an agent. Like, they can see where he might go, but he hit the transfer portal too. He doesn't like the workouts and stuff like that. They're saying it's not. He'll go back. He'll transfer somewhere. A team will take him. And that's that. But I just don't think it doesn't mean that a team's going to sign LeBron. That's all I'm leaving.
Fine. We're going to take a break because you two, this ain't even football. And y'all two, I love y'all. I do. But y'all two sometimes, man, this 2-on-1 handicap match, I know it's WrestleMania weekend, but
no, I had a different point of view from them, both of y'all.
All right. So it was a triple threat under that rule then. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Angel Reese has declared herself for the WNBA draft. We are going to get into that, and we are going to talk the women's Final Four. More with the Sports Arena. Give me 1 minute.
Connecting your brain and body with interactive games and tests. Why is there no physical activity in today's health physical? Trazer is an holistic technology used to rehabilitate, prevent falls, and improve sport performance. Trazer reports provide you, your clinician, your physical therapist, or athletic trainer objective data to make decisions on your health and performance over time. Measure what matters to change your game. Take the Trazer Challenge. Confidence, growth, connected by Trazer.
Welcome back to the Sports Arena. Man, Eric Wilson alongside the Queen of Hoop, Megan Price, and my man ASU Forks Up, Mike Caratanudo. All right, let's transition to something that I think is going to be very insightful, and that's going to lower my blood pressure. It is the fact that one Miss Angel Reese has declared for the WNBA draft coming up in 10 days. So, Queen, talk to me about this because... And honestly, if we want to go down the rabbit hole of what transpired after the LSU Iowa game, I'm happy to have that conversation as well. I just, I did my own personal rant the day following. Mm-hmm. I said what I said and I stick by it. I am tired of women not getting their flowers. And more importantly, I am tired of young Black women continually being vilified when they're just trying to be their authentic selves. So, but Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you for that one.
I was a little surprised that she declared. I don't feel like she's quite ready for the W. The W is the hardest roster to make. It is. There's only 144 spots. Next season, if she would have waited to come out next season, there'd be 156 roster spots. And so there would have been a few more places that were open that they could really, because I think the way Angel's game is right now, she needs to be somewhere in the perfect situation, and they need to tailor to her type of game. And she doesn't have a mid-range. Now, if she would have taken this next year to work on that and be with the right coach, because ultimately this comes down to Kim Mulkey, I believe. I think Angel was just sick of the circus, as we talk about, that comes along with Kim Mulkey. Because, like, unfortunately, she fell for the dream that Kim sold, like a lot of these other players. And this season didn't end up being the blockbuster season that they thought it was going to be. Haley really had no business being there at LSU. Her game does not fit the style of which LSU plays. She needs to be somewhere where she's with a different type of coach that's a little more disciplined. And you could even say this about Angel as well, even though Angel has done magnificently there at LSU. But I think she was just sick of the drama that is that, because if we'll go to the graphic that I talked about, Kim Mulkey had 32 votes. This was an anonymous player poll, and she had 32 votes of who they do not want to play for. And it's glaringly who they don't want to play for. And I know this Washington Post article came out, and for those of us that watch Big 12 basketball, we know who Kim Mulkey was. None of it was brand new news. If you read BG's first book, you know exactly who Kim Mulkey is. And the rumors were there. BG was just the one to kind of confirm it. Kim Mulkey is not a good person on or off the court, and I think she runs her players into the dirt. And when Shaq walked Angel out on senior night, I was like, that's probably it. She's probably done. Because how do you top that senior night? One of LSU's best athletes walking you out and somebody you have a special relationship with. You don't top that. So for me, I was like, yeah, this is the real senior night right here. Like, this is it. She's not going to take her COVID year. Now, she did have a great tournament. Like, her performance during the tournament was really great. In the first round, though, she hurt her ankle, and that was Kim's fault as well, I believe. I know it can happen at any point in time, but she had Angel in during trash time. They were up like 35 points. It was getting to the end of the game. There was really no point, and she hurt her ankle. Then she tweaked it there in the second quarter of that last game, and she was blocking a shot. And she had answered back really, really well to the start that Iowa had coming into that first part of that game. Iowa came in, really was running their offense really well. Angel stepped up the defense, looked incredible. But making a roster spot in the WNBA is tough. It is so tough. They cut number one picks all the time. It happens. So I do think that she moved up in her draft stock. So I think we see her at number 4, maybe number 5, where she was being mocked at like 6 or 7, maybe 8.
Well, see, right now, the mock draft that I'm looking at, not to cut you, is I'm looking at her, and the draft they have her at is number 7, going to Minnesota to play under Cheryl Reeves. So
right, and I think that's a terrible situation for her.
Really?
I do, because now if she had been able to stay, because we know what type of coach Cheryl Reeves is. She's tough as nails, period. Okay. And her former teammate Diamond Miller is there, right? Diamond Miller flourishes there because the same type of coach that she has in the W is the same type of coach she had there at Maryland. And Angel couldn't hack it at Maryland because Brenda was all up in her mix. So she ended up going to LSU. And not that Kim isn't a different type of she is a different type of coach than her. I think there's a little bit, I don't know. She lets the players run it a little bit, and that's not going to happen there at Maryland or playing for Brenda Freese or playing for Cheryl Reeves. It's dang sure not happening for Cheryl Reeves. So I don't think that is the right situation for her. She needs to go somewhere where she's able to flourish. And then also, maybe she doesn't need to be somewhere where the lights are so bright that first contract.
But if Angel Reese was trying to get away from what was going on at LSU, maybe she realized that what she had at Maryland was, indicative to what she needed to be a better player. So why not then go back to? It's like, okay, if I work with,
she couldn't hack it then. I don't think she has.
She was younger then. She's matured now.
She was younger. You're right. And so maybe maybe she has been able to do that. And if she can transition there, and if Minnesota is the one to get her, I hope that her transition goes well. It's not a knock to any of that. I just think that specifically her offense, you're going to have to tailor to her, and you're going to have to go to the right place.
Okay. Mike, before I go, this is what I'm saying, and Mike, you can take over. What I'm saying is, if I work somewhere, okay, or I'm in a certain relationship and things are great, but I realize I'm not mature enough to handle that relationship and I get out that relationship, then I get into one that I think is better for me. And then I realize after a year or 2 years, what I had previously was more along the lines of what I need and more importantly want in my life. Then why would I not go out and try and find ultimately someone who matches the qualities that were in the first relationship versus the ones that are in the second relationship? Because I've grown, I've matured. Not only have I found out more about myself and what I want, but I found out more about what I want in the person riding alongside of me. And I feel the same thing with Angel Reese. Yeah, she was young in Maryland, okay? And she had that opportunity because she was talented. But she was like, no one's going to tell me what to do. So then I went to LSU. And Kim kind of said, baby girl, I'm going to take the handcuffs off you. Go do you. But while I'm there, I realized, well, wait, some of the things that happened in Maryland, I miss that. I want that. So now she declares for the W. And if she does go to Cheryl, we all know who Cheryl is. Cheryl has coached some of the greatest players in the W. Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, Nafisa Collins. Listen, the list goes on and on and on. Why not take an Angel Reese who is mature now, but she could also play that nurturing role, Cheryl can, in protecting Angel from all the media that loves to vilify this young woman. As long as y'all understand where I'm coming from. Mike, go ahead.
Look, I mean, Kim and Megan, when you sent that yesterday, I laughed, not because I think I had heard that it was there. And I've said this to Eric a million times. I am so sick of anonymous things. Put your damn name on it. I know in the internet, hide behind your keyboard kind of days. Like somebody wants to, whoever releases they'll say, oh, this was taken, like, oh, this survey or whatever was released by, but put your damn names on it. You want to go after somebody, fine. And look, I'm not saying everything Kim Mulkey is right, but they won a championship last year. It's hard to repeat. They got back to obviously an Elite Eight, taking on Iowa. But the year Angel Reese had, I think that, you need to be coached hard or not. Like we just said, there's only those spots, those 144 spots in the WNBA.
Right. And they're not all open.
Her game does translate. Look, down low, she can be that player. And again, we talk about shooters. So every team's got that. If she goes to a certain team with certain shooters, it's one of those things down low, you can work the ball through her. Now, I see what Cortland said, maybe a little overhyped. I think people, and not that he might not have a point. I'm just saying players start playing really well. You win a national title last year. Haley Van Lith, I'll agree with you with Kim Mulkey on this. Look, talking to coaches that I've talked to in the women's game, saying, and they're not saying her style is right, but Kim Mulkey will get things out of players. Now, yes, how you have 20 hours a week, how you choose, how hard you choose to grind them in those 20 hours a week with practice, not including games, that's maybe a thing that Kim Mulkey's taking a shot for, but she becomes a winner. You talk about ultra competitive, and the one thing that some players have even said that have coached after, and I know you're talking about Brittany, but she's, even if a player's maybe made, a mistake, Kim Mulkey's been that coach that has identified, but it has had the players' backs. We'll turn around and look, and I'm not even just talking about the comments from all these junk articles, but if you're going into these, you're recruiting these players all these years now with the transfer portal too. If they're not going to believe you, they're not going to believe you. Angel Reese left Maryland, didn't have it. She became who she was at LSU. Now, not everything Kim Mulkey did is right. I agree with you on that, Megan, because, again, her coaching style isn't for everybody. But
she runs her players into the dirt.
There's a few that have said that, and there's others that have, haven't said a word about it. Maybe that's how they needed to be coached. Right, wrong, or indifferent, Angel Reese, like, I think, you know, I think her stock is very interesting to me because, again, down low, I mean, she'll battle with anybody to get boards, and she can. I love what her game is last year. I mean, as for like Haley Van, everybody said, you know, when we were talking about this the other night, and I was like, playmakers, like, you know, Van Lith never, you know, said what you did. I think Van Lith definitely could have been there if you know, again, you're coming over to start, right? And like, she was in the starting lineup. She was a little banged up too. I mean, Caitlin Clark took advantage of Van Lith being, you know, a little banged up, and not that Clark wouldn't have. I'm just saying, like, we saw towards the end of the game is like, or I should say, going third to fourth quarter, like it started to pile up on Van Lith. But my thing is, if she transfers to Kim Mulkey, says to her, look, like, this is what we have. Hey, you're gonna run the second team. I think Van Lith would have flourished. I think she would have averaged like almost the 20 she did last year. And that obviously, and then, yeah, in the tournament, if you want to mix and match her in with it, okay, be a little bit different down the stretch. But for Angel Reese, look, I'm not saying, you know, she's going to come out and be like, in like, you know, rookie of the year, this and that, or that, you know, but she is going to, I think she'll be able to play. And I think, you know, getting coached hard, a different, you know, obviously it'll be a different personality than Mulkey, like you're saying, like we know Megan, but I think that she'll be definitely be she'll have her bumps and bruises, but I don't see that. I don't.
Every player does though.
No, but
I'm not saying she's going to get cut, but I'm just saying that it's not as easy.
I'm not disagreeing with you. So now let me ask this question then, Megan. Out of the 12 head coaches in the WNBA right now, which coach do you feel would be an ideal pairing for Angel Reese? Tanisha Wright, Teresa Witherspoon, Stephanie White, Christy Sides, Sandy Brundello, Eric Diebold, Latricia Trammell, Kurt Miller, Cheryl Reeves, Nate Tibbetts, Becky Hammond, Noelle Quinn.
Nate Tibbetts.
Connecticut. I think what Christy has done. Is it Christy there at Connecticut?
No, that's Stephanie White.
No. Stephanie White, excuse me. Yeah. I think she's somebody that runs a excellent system. And I think you got to plug Angel into a system and not somebody that is free form type of coaching or a team that specifically needs her to be great right away. Not saying that she won't be great right away, but I think she develops better if she goes to a team like that with Stephanie.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I say Tibbetts.
I mean, and
come to Phoenix and learn. Come to Phoenix and learn.
No, you know what? She can go to Washington because it's looking like she might end up in Washington because the order goes Indiana, LA, Chicago, LA, Dallas. Who's six? Who was I just saying? Washington and then Minnesota. Right. And then Chicago again. So, I mean, she could end up in Chicago. That might not be terrible, you know, over there with Teresa. That may not be terrible. We're not exactly sure what Teresa can do at the specific headpiece yet, but we will, you know, we'll see. I think it goes well. I think it was the right hiring. Maybe Chicago, but Washington, they're going to want too much from her because they have to replace Elena Deladon. So, I mean, if we want to go on that tangent, I can. But they're gonna need too much out of her there in Washington.
We'll save that mic drop moment for another time.
She don't have the jump shot to replace Elena Deladon.
Okay, so that's why she might not be going to Washington. So you're saying Connecticut or Chicago for Angel Reese's style of play and who she is currently would be the best fit. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying Connecticut is the best fit. Chicago might work because building with a new coach who you're both coming in as rookies, you know?
Stephanie only been there a year.
Yeah, Stephanie's special though. What she did last year.
Oh, and Teresa's not?
With those, huh? We haven't
Teresa's
seen
not?
it yet. We have not seen it yet. I'm not saying she's not. I'm saying the guaranteed best fit, in my opinion, is probably Connecticut.
Where does Connecticut draft?
They are
10, number 10. And I think they're going to get Daisha Fair. That's who I think they take. And that's going to be insane with Daisha Fair. Number 3 in scoring all time over there with AT, Brianna Jones, DeWanna Bonner, like a Dejanay Carrington. Like, that's tough over there. Connecticut, if they go for Daisha, that's it right there.
Okay. Well, listen, we already know the top 4 teams in the W this season. Las Vegas, New York, and then number 4 is going to be Connecticut. That number 3 slot is where we differ. Mike and I say Phoenix. you say Dallas. We'll get into that.
No, actually, I think Dallas is number 4, and I think Connecticut maintains their number 3. That is a solid squad over there, and healthy. I'm healthy. I take Connecticut. I take Connecticut very serious. AT is something. AT is something.
Listen, I've seen it live, Queen. I understand. I know what the Connecticut Sun,
Connecticut, like what they did last year. Everybody gave up on them. Their coach left them. John Quell left them. I mean, and then their Brianna Jones gets injured. Like they went through hell last year, and they still maintained that number 3 seed the entire time. They had a forward playing point. Like I mean. It was really special.
The last 3 to 4 years. I say to Eric, I'm like, man,
with a rookie coach, like that's somebody really special.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing and taking away from it. And as someone who has sat courtside and seen it firsthand, I understand.
Everybody thought DeWanna was washed. Everybody thought DeWanna was washed, and she was there in the scoring contest. You know, like she was really there.
That's crazy.
All right, she's not Connecticut just wins. No matter who's there, their front office. I mean, we talk about other teams, and then they're the 2nd seed, they're the 3rd seed. It's like
every single year.
I get it. All right, let's get to what's happening tonight. We are less than 6 hours, ladies and gentlemen, away from the women's Final Four. NC State versus USC, and then they're calling it the main event, but I mean, we got 2 main events right here. Let me just say what it is.
Absolutely.
And you got UConn versus Iowa. So, Mike, man, when you look at these 2 matchups, and I'm sorry that no Pac-12 is in there, Mike. I know. I just, I know you ain't bitter
it's
about
fine.
it.
Stanford lost first, but it doesn't matter to NC State after going to overtime against Iowa State. But like I said to you on the phone, Megan, we were teasing you. I was poking at you when I was talking to Eric. I said, "Oh, of course, Megan doesn't show up for the show because the only thing she could say to me,
because NC
State got Stanford before they got Texas. NC State got Stanford before they got Texas. So I know I was going to get a little bit of that, so I just beat you to it. But no, I look at tonight like, I mean, it's awesome what NC State has done, and I know, I mean, and again, they're a freaking 3 seed. It's not a surprise. I mean, they play well. Look. South Carolina's kind of overshadowed everybody this year, rightfully so. Last year, I mean, they lose in the tournament, and then LSU, obviously their conference mates, wins a national title. But I mean, look, that game, it can be close. I mean, Indiana showed like, okay, you can get down to South Carolina, and granted, Indiana, I know, is what were they the most? They were the number 1 efficient offensive team scoring wise in the nation. And I'm like, wow. But I mean, for efficiency, so Indiana kind of stayed the course, got back in the game, made it close. But North Carolina State, look, I think you keep it close. Don Staley, as we know, is not the kind of coach that's going to sit there and, freak out. Our team, those are going to be challenged. But if they get a big lead, I mean, if they get a comfortable lead, it doesn't have so much to be big, but they get a, 7 to 10 point lead, Eric, it's a team that's just going to suffocate you. And you've seen it, pretty much all year, and especially, I mean, fast forward to the tournament, they're going to suffocate you. They're going to blow people out. I'm not going to be a South Carolina hater and say, oh, NC State's going to beat them. I think NC State will play well. I just think inevitably down low, and the way that South Carolina's been overall just moved the ball all year long, the flow of their game, I see South Carolina winning that. For Iowa and UConn, man,
don't go to sleep. If you're on the East Coast, don't go to sleep. That's all I'm going to say.
No. You see, now I'll be happy today on the West Coast. Like, hey, how you guys doing? This is great. It's happy hour. No,
yeah.
But I look at this. I mean, look, people caught up to UConn. I mean, Eric, we had this conversation a few years ago with Jake and with Ruth. Like, is it good that UConn constantly wins? And I said, hey, you can only recruit so many players. At some point, beat them. Pat Summitt, God rest her soul, from Tennessee. I mean, look, UConn kind of owned them. They would play almost every year non-conference. That's how Tennessee, again, who had very, obviously, as we know, talented, great players, but you got to beat them. Like, again, yeah, if it's not your favorite team, are we all sick of it? Do we want to tear it down? It's in human nature to do that, fan of any other school. I mean, look, they've been banged up and not just paid. And this year, yes, we know they have 8 people total So they have a bench
No,
of
6
three.
and 7. They've run with 6 girls, and then the
Right,
last
but I
couple of
mean,
games
they have
had
8
7.
available. They have 8 available. I'm just saying there's 8 total because of the injuries. There's 8 total on their bench. But look,
Right.
I mean, Paige Beckers, what she's done has been phenomenal. You kind of just poke that bear saying, oh, UConn's over. There's going to be – UConn was never a middle-of-the-road team with Gino there. Like, yeah, you may have had injuries and you're in the tournament, but now you have all this team. I just like – I love this matchup. And I got UConn winning it in overtime. I think it goes OT, but I think UConn.
Right, I could see that.
Man, UConn wins in overtime, and I think Gino said something the other night on Sports Center, and he was talking to Scott Van Pelt. Paige won all the awards as a freshman, which I mean we talked about, obviously well deserved. I mean it was insane, like not just freshman of the year, but she. When healthy, this team is an Elite Eight Final Four team, and she's done that much. I mean, it's crazy. I think, and Gino said, yeah, and of course she takes it in stride, her answers, and I mean, she sees how they play. She respects their game, but, asked about, Caitlin multiple times, asked about, Juju, obviously before they play them. And, Gino was saying this player and that player, like, yeah, she's still her. And I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Gino, I mean, has that team, like I said, yes, they've been playing 7. I mean, they can literally play 8, and they have a bench of 3 because of the injuries. And that's what makes this run from UConn, especially with this talent. We've talked about it, the deep talent. And I mean, look, I thought USC was going to get them. I thought Megan, I'm like, that bench, and not even being a Pac-12.
Oh, no, I agree.
I'm like, that bench just, I don't know if it can, like, Juju isn't going to force a game. And she did. I mean, Juju had a good game, but down low, UConn was just able to make plays late and hit some big shots. Like that's what they've done. So look, I like UConn tonight. I think it goes overtime. I think both Paige and Caitlin have heck of games, and it's what their supporting cast does. But man, it just seems like it's one of those years, that Gino just finds a way to get there. Now, and I told you the other night, I think the storyline lastly is that to me for the championship is the best. The only team to go undefeated multiple times, taking on the team that is trying to get added to that list. And man, no matter what matchup we get, like if we get NC State against UConn or Iowa, or South Carolina against either, like it is going to be an absolute phenomenal matchup, and it has nothing to do with
Sunday night's going to be. So listen. Sunday night, people are watching 2 things. Okay, let's keep it a buck. Well, I'll say 3 if you want to include Shark. Not Shark. What's the big tuna show?
Tuna show.
Yeah, where they catch all the big bluefin tunas.
Oh,
I was just Wicked Tuna. That's what it is.
Wicked
People
Tuna.
are watching 3 things on Sunday night. Okay, you're either watching Wicked Tuna, you're either watching WrestleMania Night 2, or you're watching the NCAA Women's Championship game. Those are the only 3 things that's going to be on television. Unless you don't care about any of those things, which I think I've encompassed pretty much everybody. 12.2 million people watched LSU versus Iowa. 12 point. I'm sorry.
Peaked at 16.
My bad.
Peaked at 16.
12.3. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay. We know what the world is watching. So I'm going to give my piece, and then I'm going to have Queen, I'm going to have her round us out with this because this is her area of expertise. I will always defer to the Queen of Hoop, Megan Price, with regard to the women and the world of basketball. NC State and South Carolina. NC State, you have had one hell of a ride. And there is nothing short of what is fitting to happen to you. But Dawn Staley is on a whole nother level. Okay? So this game, I don't think, is going to be as close as the world wants it to be. I anticipate that, like Mike said, once South Carolina gets that comfortable lead of, I'll just say between 10 to 12 points, yeah, they are, it's game over. All right, that's it. And I wish, I truly, I don't want to disparage anybody from feeling some type of way, but if you do, then that's how you feel. But I just know from what I've seen with Dawn Staley and how she coaches, all right, and what she's been able to do with women. And plus, let's not negate the fact that who has everybody been talking about for most of this tournament? They've been talking about Caitlin Clark. They've been talking about Angel Reese. What they haven't been talking about is the undefeated South Carolina team led by Dawn Staley. All right. So for me, listen, love it. Can't wait to see it. Glad it's the first matchup because it will then just pull us right into Paige versus Caitlin, which we already got Angel versus Caitlin, and we saw how that went down. Now Caitlin Clark, the woman who is already in a conversation of being a GOAT. However, there are both sides to that. And again, another conversation for another time. That's a whole show in itself. Let me just say that.
Right.
But Paige was the woman 2 years ago that everybody was talking about. Caitlin was the 1B, if you will. And then all of a sudden, unfortunately, Paige got injured. And Caitlin just soared to new heights. What Caitlin Clark is doing for the world of women and world of women's basketball, both on the collegiate level and what the attention is that she is going to bring to the WNBA, you can't describe it. You can't explain it. It is something that, you know, as someone, and I said this to Mike Monday night, 5 years ago, never gave women's basketball an ounce of thought. Fast forward 5 years later, and again, I support women and women athlete and women in sports. Shout out to our girl, Olympian Phoebe Schechter. Mike, I'll talk to you about that as well. I'm just saying, what we are going to get tonight, in my opinion, should be the national championship. But how the brackets were set up, it is what it is. Because these two young women are already rewriting history. And I'm going to say they're rewriting herstory. Because it's their stories that are going to be the ones that are going to be catapulted over the next 2 seasons. The WNBA is just going to take what these women have put on their backs and just move the needle and progress the needle so far forward. I do have South Carolina beating NC State. With regards to UConn and Iowa, it is a tough decision to make. Because I know what both of these young women, Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark, bring to the table. I am going to go with Iowa on this simply because I know Paige still has and has made it very clear she has 1 more year. She's going to come back. And I think Caitlin is going to leave her mark. She already has left it, but I think she's going to silence everybody and leave a lasting impression to say, you can never say, I did not do this. And whatever this is, Caitlin's going to be the name attached to it. And whether that is a national championship or not, granted, her resume in 1 season does speak for itself. But to all of her accolades that she has already had, that are already synonymous with her name, when you look in the history books of college basketball, men or women's, her name is attached to several of them. So I do have I do have South Carolina and I have Iowa going to Sunday's game. And I guess at some point between today and Sunday, we'll have to make a pick. But Queen, as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to defer to the woman of the hour, the Queen of Hoop, Miss Megan Price, with regards to the Final Four matchup. Because, listen, I'm going to tell y'all right now, as The Rock would say, know your role, shut your mouth, and open your ears, because she's about to drop some serious knowledge on y'all.
With the first matchup, I'm really excited to see this one. I know a lot of people are talking about the later game, but I think this game is going to be really good. I think it's going to be an 8-9 point differential. I think NC State is going to be competitive in this game. Asia James is their superstar guard over there. And FYI, she was coached by Dawn for a couple of years before she was at NC State and was able to answer some questions about her time there at South Carolina. And she said, hey, there's no beef. She was like, there's a lot of respect. I'm still friends. Dawn called me whenever we made the Final Four and told me how proud she was of me. But she also made sure that she let them know, like on her way out when she left South Carolina, she was like, things are good. But I also let them know that y'all will see me again. And I think that NC State, you know, you have to show so much respect for the way that they beat Texas. They beat Texas in a way that Texas beats other teams. The exact same defense. that Texas plays and disrupted our shooting. They not like we lost by 10 points, but in reality, we lost the entire game by 15 to 17 majority of the game. They just let us get a couple extra points. If we would have had our point guard, I feel like things would have been differently. I don't know if the results would have been different, but I think the way that we played would have been different. What we were missing was that spice of shooting that is Asia James. And they used our exact same defense and just disrupted us. I was saying before that I felt like Texas's defense was the best matchup for South Carolina. Love that a team that plays the exact same type of defense that we play is going to be playing South Carolina. I think it is going to be a good matchup. But Dawn talked about this group of young ladies being completely different than any other team she's ever had, that she had to kind of step back a little bit and let them play freely. She said not anything who she is, what she stands for as a person, but stepped back as like just let them kind of be themselves on the court, and that's much different for her. I think that says a lot about this group of young ladies, that what they put together, because this is a completely different team than the team that we saw last year. And one last thing, what I love about Dawn is the way she talks about her players, the adoration that she has for her players. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of programs. No gender attached to that, but I think that just the adoration and the respect that she has for her players, her former players, and she doesn't get in these press conferences and complain about the portal and about Neil deals and how it's affecting the way she coaches. She doesn't make those excuses. She goes out and she recruits well. She goes and pulls her players from the portal herself as well, and she uses that to her advantage. And she's not a terrible person, still treats her players with respect. And when done right, she's the example of what it can be. So I think no matter who wins out of UConn or Iowa, but I am taking UConn because I like their Paige's supporting cast a little bit better than what I like out of Caitlin's supporting cast. That team that we saw Iowa had last year was a fierce team, y'all. It was more than Caitlin Clark. Monica Cesano, how she doesn't have a roster position in the WNBA is crazy to me, but unfortunately she was drafted by that tiny man out there in LA. And it just did not work out for her.
She still can't let it go, Lee. She still can't let it go. Megan, it's gone.
They didn't make that championship without Monica Cesano. Iowa cannot rebound the ball. That it's tough for them. And they don't have that problem in UConn. They're used to running with 6 or 7 girls, because if you look back at their last 3 seasons, they were injured. They're used to running with 6 or 7 girls. Now Iowa runs the same rotations. They run 6 or 7 girls as well, but I trust UConn's more. You got Aaliyah Edwards, who's going to go top 5 in the WNBA draft. It looks like we got her mocked going to Dallas, so that would be great. Would love to have Aaliyah Edwards there. And then they got Nika Mule. They got Kiki over there. Those are names that because they're doing a lot over there. Whereas Iowa, they do have some names over there, and I will shout out what Iowa's supporting cast has done in this postseason. We didn't see that in the regular season. When Caitlin was having struggling shooting nights, the rest of the offense looked stale. They looked lost, but as soon as they hit that conference tournament, and then in this tournament as well, they've stepped it up in a big way. So that is not that same complete team from Iowa last year. And regardless, UConn or Iowa, they got a train coming for them, and that's South Carolina. They have not played a team with that defense that is South Carolina, and then they follow up and answer with that fast-paced, free-flowing offense that they have. They're out there having fun. And when you can laugh and have fun and you're beating people, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't think UConn or Iowa is beating South Carolina this year.
I want UConn. I tend to see what you're saying, but one thing about Caitlin Clark also is, as a competitor, and again, she had a hell of a high school career too, but she wasn't recruited by UConn. And if they were getting Paige, they're both coming in at the same time. You're basically taking 2 players at the same position. So right. That's motivation. But yeah, I'm with you. I just think Indiana, Indiana, they got down big, and then before the half in the third quarter, and late in the third quarter, they started to make that run. Look, both the other 3 teams, obviously North Carolina, NC State, who they're playing, Indiana kind of put the blueprint. Is it tough to do? But if you sit there and you make them play, and they can play both, you're right, because South Carolina's done it like teams, whether they try to slow them down this year and play more of a half court, but they want to speed up the tempo. But Dawn Staley, like you said, Megan, I mean, obviously I echo that, and Eric too, the way she coaches her teams, like it's not, they're going to be able to play both. But I think both UConn and Iowa, whoever was to get there, like you can stay close. Like I said, if they get that 10 to 12 point lead, that's when I think teams start. Of course, naturally, you can say you're not, but pressing a little bit more because you're like, okay, we can't let this get too much further. Can't let the deficit get too much bigger. But yeah, I mean, the way they play, and look, I'd love to see a UConn. Selfishly, I'd love to see a UConn South Carolina matchup. But yeah, I mean, and in and of itself, if we do get that, Eric, I'll put it out right now. I won't pull a me and waffle and change, even though I probably will want to. We get UConn South Carolina, man. I'm taking the storyline. I'm taking UConn because you don't get there with that bench lack of because of injuries. Not that they're not talented, and you don't get to a championship game. They get there, it's going to be. I hope it goes to Megan. I said
momentum is something. No, momentum is something.
This game's going overtime. If we get that matchup, and as much as tired as the play might be, and it might look tough, I hope we get triple overtime in that game. UConn South Carolina. That would be my dream.
Good Lord, Mike.
Oh, dude, I love
Calm down.
I love it.
Down.
They got the draft the next Monday. Dang.
I know, Mike. Damn. Huh?
And the championship game will be that epic. All right, fine. No, maybe one overtime then. Fine, party poopers.
I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but I'm just saying, like, man, like, let's be mindful. Okay, let's not, as Megan said, with a certain coach who coaches a certain team, let's not run them into the ground. Come on now. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for rocking with us here on the Sports Arena on a Friday. Your man Eric Wilson, alongside the Queen of Hoop, Megan Price, and my man ASU on the left coast, got up early with us, Mike Caratanudo. We will see y'all Monday night, where we will have an NCAA women's champion. We will definitely be talking to you about that. Of course, the NBA playoffs are coming up, and we will be 1 week away from the WNBA draft. So we will give our opinion on where we feel people are going to go, not named Caitlin Clark, because it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that she will be alongside Katie Lou Samuelson and Aaliyah Boston in Indiana.
And the men's championship game will be going on when we're on Monday night.
Yeah, it'll be UConn. Anyhow, for all of us, hey, everyone have a blessed weekend. We will holler at y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.